Seriously? You sent me this cheap baby outfit? How stingy can you be? My sister-in-law's voice dripped with contempt as she answered my call. I already threw it in the trash. Just send me a stroller instead, she demanded. I took a deep breath, waited for her tirade to end, and then dropped the bombshell. Did you even check what was inside? That gift was from your father-in-law. I mentioned it in the letter, too. Didn't you read it? What? Are you kidding me? Her confident tone faltered, replaced by panic. She had no idea what consequences awaited her, especially since our conversation was on speakerphone. My name is Jordan. 7 years ago, I was in a 3-year relationship with a guy named Simon, and we were planning on getting married in the fall. Around that time, we found out that his older brother, Paxton, was also planning to get married. It's great to have 2 happy events happening at the same time, but considering the financial burden on the invited guests, we thought it might be better to avoid having them at the same time. So we had a discussion, and we decided that the older brother would have his wedding first. That's when Dakota, his wife, became my sister-in-law. I'm 2 years younger than her. She was very kind and treated me like a sister. I thought we'd get along well as sisters-in-law, but her attitude changed completely 6 months after her wedding. It was the day we came back from our honeymoon. Grandma, Simon and Jordan are back from their trip, my mother-in-law said loudly. Simon's 80-year-old grandmother, Fiona, who lives with my in-laws, came out of the back room. Simon, Jordan, welcome back, she said cheerfully. I brought you the toffee you like, I replied. When I handed my foodie grandmother-in-law her gift, she smiled happily. Simon, you've really got yourself a great wife. She even considered me during the wedding ceremony. It was an intimate ceremony with just family, and even the meal was Japanese cuisine. That's rare for young people these days, she concluded. Just then the doorbell rang. It was my sister-in-law, Dakota. Oh, you all look like you're having a good time together, she remarked. Dakota, you came just in time. Simon and Jordan brought us some toffee from their honeymoon. Join us, my mother-in-law invited her. I'll pass this time, she replied. I just came to drop off the invitations for your birthday party, Mother. Well, I have some things to do, so I'm going to take off. Then she walked out the front door. I followed her. Here's a souvenir. It's not much, I said, handing her a paper bag with sweets. She peeked inside and laughed. It looks like something you could buy at any train station, huh? I'm sorry, I stammered. And Jordan, from now on, could you stop calling me by my first name? You're married now, so you should understand, right? Dakota added. Yes, I replied, confused. Today's my sister-in-law, who used to call me by my first name or a nickname, now addressed me more formally, and her words and tones seemed harsh. What could have happened? I wondered if I had done something to upset her, but I couldn't think of anything. Maybe she was just in a bad mood. I was left with an uneasy feeling at the restaurant my sister-in-law had booked for my mother-in-law's birthday celebration. My in-laws and Dakota were waiting. I was about to ask why my grandmother-in-law wasn't there, but my sister-in-law said, Now that everyone's here, father-in-law, could you please say a few words for the toast? We finished the main course of the meal, and just as we were about to have dessert, Dakota spoke up again and said, Mother, this is a birthday present from Paxton and me. When my mother-in-law opened the box Dakota handed her, it revealed a high-end bag. Oh my, can I really accept such an expensive gift? My mother-in-law asked. We chose it because we thought it would be perfect for a fashionable mother like you, my sister-in-law replied. She had also given my father-in-law a watch for his birthday 3 months earlier. Seeing my mother-in-law happy, Dakota looked at me with satisfaction. Jordan, you have something too, right? She prompted. Yes, I'm not sure how to follow that, I said as my mother-in-law unwrapped the package I handed her. Oh, how lovely! Did you make this, Jordan? My mother-in-law asked. Yes, I enjoy sewing, I explained. I had given her a handmade apron. I remembered my mother-in-law saying before, I wonder if there were more fashionable aprons out there, so I made one to suit her taste. Thank you. This is exactly what I wanted, and it's even more special that you made it for me, she said, delighted. Dakota, who had been nodding along to the conversation, smiled. Jordan, you're really skillful with your hands. I'm jealous. Can you teach me sometime? She asked. I had been worried about how my gift would go over, so I was relieved to hear their words and went to the restroom. While washing my hands, I felt someone's gaze on me and looked up to see my sister-in-law glaring at me through the mirror. I had a shocked expression on my face. "What's so surprising?" she sneered. "I'm sorry, I didn't notice," I muttered. "Hey, Jordan, what's with that birthday present? Did you really think she would be happy with something like that? A handmade apron? It's so outdated, like something from a grade school economics class." She laughed, crossing her arms. "I feel like I'll catch your bad taste if I'm around you." With that, she pinched her nose and made a gesture to fan away the smell before leaving the restroom. From that point on, Dakota acted completely different when we were alone compared to when we were with family. My husband just told me not to worry about it and wouldn't take the issue seriously. Still, I continued to visit my in-laws' house to see my grandmother-in-law, who looked forward to my visits, and lately, I hadn't had any run-ins with my sister-in-law. Then one day, I received a message from her after a long time. "I have something to tell you," she wrote. When I went to my in-laws' house one day, Dakota, who had come alone, was happily chatting with them. "Dakota is pregnant. It's a boy," my mother-in-law said joyfully. My in-laws already knew about her pregnancy, but they had called us over so she could tell us. Feeling mixed emotions, while my in-laws beamed with happiness, I pretended to make tea and went to the kitchen. Even so, I couldn't help but listen to the conversation in the living room. "Actually, there's something I'd like to ask," my sister-in-law began. "What is it? Don't be shy, just say it," my father-in-law encouraged her. "Well, I talked to Paxton about it, and we were wondering if we could live here with you after the baby is born. So here's a proposal. If the family grows, it might become a little cramped, so we would appreciate it if we could renovate the house. And of course, we'll cover the expenses," she suggested humbly. I felt that she might have had another motive. Unaware of this, my father-in-law said, "I appreciate the sentiment, but wouldn't we all end up being overly conscious of each other? You don't have to worry about us, but why don't you just build your own house? If it's about money, we'd be happy to help. Right, honey?" he asked his wife. "Yeah, that's right," my mother-in-law agreed. "Really? Are you sure? That's too bad. I was looking forward to living together," lamented my sister-in-law upon hearing my in-law's words. This was probably all part of her plan. My sister-in-law came over to me in the kitchen and said with a smug look, "Did you hear that? My father-in-law is going to give me the money for my own house." She casually revealed to me that she never had any intention of living with her in-laws from the start. "My future is secure now," she continued with a smug smile, her eyes gleaming with triumph. "I mean, I have a husband who works at a top-tier company, a new house, and a son on the way. Plus, I've got my in-laws on my side. You really picked the wrong person to mess with." "Excuse me?" I retorted. "Being friends with that old woman won't get you anywhere," she added smugly. Unable to hold back any longer, I raised my voice. "Dakota, that's completely inappropriate." "Shh, don't be so loud. Everyone will hear you," she whispered. Then she leaned in and added, "God must be watching over me. After all, he made sure I, as the eldest son's wife, would have a child before you." She smirked. I didn't immediately understand what my sister-in-law meant. But then I realized something. How did she know about it? Only my husband and grandmother-in-law should have known. Suddenly, my grandmother-in-law walked up. "What are you two talking about?" "Oh, it's nothing," my sister-in-law replied with a fake smile before quickly returning to the living room. "Jordan, would you like to have some tea in my room?" Fiona offered. Once inside, my grandmother-in-law checked again to make sure no one was outside the room and asked, "Jordan, is Dakota being mean to you?" My grandmother-in-law told me she had begun to notice my sister-in-law's true nature. When I told her that Dakota knew about my miscarriage, she said, "She must have eavesdropped on our conversation in this room." I intended to keep my pregnancy secret for the first few weeks, sharing it only with my husband and grandmother-in-law, as I wasn't sure how my sister-in-law would react. Unfortunately, I ended up having a miscarriage. My sister-in-law had deliberately called us to our in-laws' house to announce her pregnancy. I couldn't help but think that she was mocking me. I can't forgive her. I decided to tell my elderly grandmother-in-law everything about my sister-in-law's behavior, which I hadn't mentioned before, to avoid worrying her. My grandmother-in-law held my hand and said, "Don't worry, Jordan. Leave it to this old lady." Several months later, my sister-in-law gave birth to a baby boy at a hospital near her parents' home. We gave her husband some money as a gift, but I separately sent a present to my sister-in-law's family home. Even though she should have gotten it by now, she never said anything. I decided to call my sister-in-law in front of my grandmother-in-law and parents-in-law. "What? You're asking for a thank you?" she snapped. "Sending me such a cheap handmade baby outfit? How stingy can you be?" I put her on speaker. "I threw that thing in the trash already. Just send me a stroller instead." I waited for my sister-in-law to finish before revealing the truth. "Dakota, did you check what was inside? That gift was from your father-in-law." "What?" she exclaimed. "Yes, I made the baby outfit, but your father-in-law asked me to. Your parents-in-law embroidered your child's name on the chest of the outfit. I also mentioned that in the letter I included. Didn't you read it?" I asked. What? Are you kidding?" My sister-in-law's confident tone gradually faded. "Jordan, hold on a minute." I could hear voices in the background. "Mom, where did you put that bag I threw in the trash?" Dakota asked urgently. "What bag?" "What was in it?" her mother replied. "Ugh, just look next time," snapped my sister-in-law indignantly. My sister-in-law and her mother's conversation was clearly audible, even though she probably thought she was covering the phone. "I'm sorry, Jordan. There was a little misunderstanding," Dakota said, her tone changing to a more humble one. "It seems my mom accidentally threw it away, mistaking it for trash. If our in-laws find out about this, they'll be upset." My sister-in-law made endless excuses and ultimately asked me, "Please, just make the same baby outfit again. Jordan, I'm sorry for being so harsh before. I didn't mean anything by it, so please just help me out this time." Dakota, who had said many hurtful things to me, was now trying to butter me up. "All right, I'll do it just this once. Considering your parents-in-law's feelings," I agreed before hanging up. "Now you see, that's her true nature," my grandmother-in-law, who had been listening nearby, said to my parents-in-law. Actually, before giving birth, my sister-in-law had bailed on my grandmother-in-law's birthday party, claiming she was sick. My grandmother-in-law had told my parents-in-law about Dakota's true colors. "I can't believe Dakota would do such a thing," my father-in-law muttered. My parents-in-law, who had been skeptical, were now convinced after hearing the phone conversation. They were stunned, their anger giving way to disbelief that the outfit, lovingly made by the family, had been thrown in the trash. The tables had turned. Unaware of the situation, my sister-in-law came to our parents-in-law's house with her husband and their newborn child. We couldn't confront her when our in-laws were meeting their first grandchild for the first time, so Simon and I greeted them with casual smiles. "How adorable! I wonder if he has my mouth. His eyebrows are like mine." Watching my in-laws, who couldn't help but adore their grandchild, I thought that the phrase "they wouldn't feel pain even if their eyes were poked" truly applied here. "Thank you everyone for the lovely baby clothes. See, they fit perfectly," Dakota said proudly as she dressed the baby in the clothes I had remade. "Yes, they do," my father-in-law agreed. Seeing the happy faces of the in-laws, Dakota smiled at me. At that moment, my mother-in-law said with a puzzled expression, "Something seems off." "What?" Dakota asked. "These baby clothes. The embroidery wasn't this beautiful before, was it? Am I imagining things?" my mother-in-law wondered aloud. "Oh no, it's always been this beautiful," Dakota said nervously. "I guess so," my mother-in-law murmured, her brow furrowing slightly. My sister-in-law laughed nervously, relieved that nothing came of it. "Let me hold my great-grandchild," my grandmother-in-law said warmly. She reached to hold the baby. "Don't touch the baby with your dirty hands," Dakota shot back, brushing away great-grandmother's hand. It was a reflex. She disliked great-grandmother. Flustered that her actions showed her true nature, my sister-in-law quickly apologized. "I'm sorry, Grandma. I didn't mean it like that." She desperately tried to explain herself, but icy cold gazes were directed at her. "Well, it doesn't matter," Fiona laughed. "You may try to keep up appearances, but sometimes your true colors show unexpectedly. Right, Dakota?" my grandmother-in-law added. "Huh?" my sister-in-law uttered. "Oh no, did I let something slip?" Fiona asked. Dakota was speechless at great-grandmother's response. Backed into a corner, she said, Great-grandma, can we have another birthday party for you? I couldn't attend the last one because I wasn't feeling well. Oh, there it is. Her signature about face. Would you prefer Japanese cuisine? I could make a reservation at a fancy restaurant, Dakota asked, rubbing her hands together. No, I don't like eating out. I'd rather try some of your homemade cooking instead of a fancy feast, great-grandmother replied. Huh? She blinked in confusion. Is cooking not your strong suit, Dakota? Great-grandmother added. No, it's not like that. Of course I'll cook for you, my sister-in-law said confidently. But later, she called and asked me to help her cook. She must have assumed I'd bail her out like I did with the baby clothes. But things wouldn't go her way this time. I'm sorry, Dakota, but no. Great-grandma has had my cooking and would know right away. Why didn't you just be honest if you can't cook, huh? I said. Maybe she didn't expect me to say that. Fine, she muttered and hung up the phone. Later, at great-grandmother's birthday party, there were fancy boxes of food lined up on the table. Did you make all this, Dakota? Fiona asked, with an innocent expression. Yes, I did. I'm not sure if you'll like it, though, my sister-in-law replied. Knowing Dakota, she probably ordered high-end dishes from somewhere and just changed out the plates because she refused to admit that she can't cook. Relieved that she managed to avoid complete embarrassment, she showed a gift to her grandmother-in-law saying, Grandma, this is just a small token, but I hope you like it and wear it. Great-grandmother looked at it and said, Oh, this looks like expensive clothing, but it's too fancy for me to wear. I feel bad, but can you return it to the store you bought it from? Oh, you don't like it? I can get something else, Dakota hesitated. Grandmother-in-law then said, Dakota, would you like to live with us here? That would be the best present. It would mean I could enjoy your delicious cooking every day. Live together? I thought we agreed that we didn't have to do that, right, father-in-law? Dakota was visibly shaken by the unexpected request. It's just a thought, Fiona continued. Besides, Dakota, weren't you planning to live with us? Is there a problem? After about 10 seconds of silence, Dakota opened her mouth. I'm sorry. The truth is, I can't cook at all, but I didn't want to tell you, so I ordered food. Well, if that's the case, you should have just told us the truth, great-grandmother said. Yes, I'm sorry, my sister-in-law replied. Dakota apologized for the cooking issue and clearly wanted to slide past the topic of living together, but great-grandmother wasn't finished yet. Don't worry, I was just joking about us living together. What? Dakota asked, shocked. It was just a joke? My sister-in-law's face looked relieved, but grandmother-in-law's attack was unexpected. Don't get too comfortable just yet. If you can't manage that, I'd prefer you stay out of the house, Fiona went on. What? Dakota exclaimed. Then her usually quiet husband, Paxton, spoke up. Dakota apologized to Jordan. Throwing away the clothes she made for the baby, that's a terrible thing to do. It was the first time I'd seen Paxton angry. Apologize? I didn't do anything wrong, she insisted. I had it. Dakota, it's all out in the open. Should I show you? I said, showing her my smartphone. Here, I have all our conversations recorded. Want to hear? As I tried to press the button on my phone, my sister-in-law screamed, Stop it, and snatched it from my hand. Startled by her loud voice, the baby sleeping in the next room started to cry loudly. What do you want from me? I'm the one who wants to cry, Dakota yelled. Oh, really? Now my sister-in-law was crying too. Everyone was taken aback. Dakota, cut it out. Aren't you embarrassed? Acting like a child, just get out, Paxton demanded. The room got quiet. Dakota had nothing to say. She slightly nodded at me and left the house. The consequences of being two-faced caught up to my sister-in-law, as her husband gave up on her. Later, Paxton told Dakota that he wanted a divorce. She had no job or savings. She demanded alimony in exchange for giving him custody of their child. But her parents were reasonable and apologized for their daughter's actions. They offered to pay the alimony themselves. Dakota, who moved back in with her parents, sent Paxton messages complaining about living with her stubborn sister-in-law and how unbearable it was. She didn't care about her child at all. Her husband was fed up and said, You brought this on yourself. And he blocked her. After the divorce, Paxton remarried and lived with his son in his parents' home. Please call me Hope. You don't have to call me sister-in-law, Hope said. Hope, who was a year older, was very kind and cheerful, and the baby quickly warmed up to her. Thanks to the in-laws, the family of 3 now lives in an apartment near their house. My husband and I, blessed with 2 daughters, moved into the in-laws' house when Paxton and his family moved out. My in-laws love watching their grandchildren grow up. My grandmother-in-law will celebrate her 86th birthday this year. Today, she sits on the porch, watching her great-grandchildren play in the sandbox. Nana, here's some toffee, the girls say, offering her balls of mud. She laughs and says, "Thank you, it's delicious." As I watch this adorable exchange from a distance, I whisper, "Nana, please live a long life and watch over our children as they grow up."